thank you very much for having me.
Don't thank me yet.
You have the right to remain silent.
Yeah, I just saw your character expired.
Because it's on TV. Do you have a single fact to back that up?
You know, this is the one where think you're funny.
You understand me?
I think you need to go get a dictionary.
Testing 1, 2, 3. Oh, I sound a little better right there. Spin that dial. Turn me up.
Spin.
I don't know if I can hear you.
You can hear me.
I can hear you okay.
Yeah, you can hear me fine.
Yeah. Rocking the new headphones tonight. Actually, they're not new. I found them in a dusty drawer because I forgot my good ones.
Look at the wide angle on here. It's a giant camera lens.
I can't see it. It's too dark.
It's okay.
We don't tilt it more toward you.
No, it's okay. We don't really use that angle that much anyway.
Well,
so.
now I want to fix it.
No.
What was wrong with it? Wait, now I can't. Well, now I can't tell.
Look at
What is that?
It's a camera lens.
Oh.
It's my cam, but it's okay.
Oh, well.
It don't matter.
You can still see my fucking side of my face.
Yeah,
it's
kind
of covering my ear.
Tell the folks what we're going to be talking about.
Tremors.
Because of what?
Because Fred Ward died.
Fred?
Moment of silence.
Question mark?
Okay, Ward? That's long enough. So Fred Ward died at the age of 79, and we knew right away what to do.
Watch a movie.
Watch Fred Ward's best movie, and the only one that
best movie is
that you might know of with him in it. He's one of those guys.
I know the actor. It's just
you see him in stuff every once in a while, or way back when he was here or there.
Yeah.
You know what's funny?
What?
Have you ever fucking heard of Remo Williams?
Remo Williams?
Yeah.
No.
So
I don't think so.
I remember the box cover of this movie, and it was Fred Ward.
Okay.
It was a role that was given to him because this was the man that was going to carry the Remo Williams franchise. And on the cover art, it showed Remo Williams hanging from the Statue of Liberty by a rope or something.
Was it supposed to be like an action thing?
Yeah. And the tagline said, "Move over, James Bond. Remo Williams is here." Like James Bond is just this
ever get made?
Gigantic, colossal thing, and Remo Williams just comes in like dink and just bounces right off and goes into.
So it was an actual thing.
Yeah. It was one movie came out, and you could obviously tell that they were trying to spawn some sort of big next James Bond character,
right?
And Fred Ward was Remo Williams. I only saw it once, and it was so long ago, and I barely remember it. All I remember is he had some old wise mentor,
right,
that could do like fucking magic and weird shit.
Ooh.
Like, so it was incorporating some sort of a magical element of the arts, like floating, and who cares? So we're talking about Tremors. So
his best movie ever.
Yeah, because Kevin Bacon. It's like on that fucking box art, Kevin Bacon,
right? He's
billed at the top of the poster, and that's it. Fred Ward's not up there too,
right?
Because let's just face it, I think most people would be like, "Who the fuck is Fred Ward?"
Well, that's when you messaged me and was like, "Hey, we gotta watch Tremors because Fred, Ward died," and I just was like, "Yeah, okay." I enjoyed it.
Yeah. Well, enjoyable because they're both good in it, like equal tiered, good chemistry for a worm movie. Right. So this movie is the first movie I ever remember looking for to rent, like way back in the Blockbuster days.
Oh, interesting.
Actually, I was in a Hollywood Video, but it's the first memory I have of like going to the video store in order to find something I wanted to rent. And I was like, "Where's Tremors? Where the fuck is Tremors?"
Right.
And I remember finding it and being like, "I'm so happy."
And you were excited about it.
Yeah, because I had only seen it on TV when
I
I was
think-
a kid, and so I wanted to find it so bad.
Yeah. I think for good reason too, because I don't know. It's kind of at the end of the movie. I said, you know, it was surprisingly good, I guess, for that time period. I mean, the creature work,
1990.
yeah, the creature work was awesome. Honestly, I mean, it definitely had that puppet feel, which you're obviously going to
It's
have.
a big sock puppet.
Yeah. I mean, that's what it is, obviously, but it was good. It was fun. It felt I don't know. Obviously the movie's like gently riding the waves of kind of like all other creature films around that time period, but it's not like copying it, I guess is the easiest way to say it. It's not like directly copying something to kind of like make its money off of something else. It did its own thing in a pretty good way. So for that, I enjoyed it.
Because you said it was better than you thought it was going to be.
Yeah, as a I've seen I've basically seen clips or scenes of the movie, probably enough to have been able to put the movie together myself, but not, from start to finish. So it was cool to be able to see the whole thing. And it was fun. It was a fun movie. We'll have to look up the budget then, because the whole time I'm thinking like they literally went nowhere new
Throughout the whole film.
Yeah, like through the entire film. Like obviously inside of the buildings could have been sets and stuff in a studio, but like it was just like I guess like the biggest part of the budget was creating that little when I say town, it's literally 3 houses.
Yeah, and
it was like
little supermarket.
a general store, one house across the street, and like some RV campers like sitting around here and there. So like,
and then somebody had a house like fucking 5 miles down the road.
So it was like some of the biggest probably monies that went into it was just building, obviously, the sets.
Yeah,
like whether they were on location or not. But
so were you expecting it to be like larger in scope, taking place in
No.
like
No, that's kind of like the asterisk for me is like it really kind of took place in the same area, but they did a really decent job at like making it feel at least slightly more grander than what it was. I think the only time I was like, all right, this is getting a little too much was right at the beginning where people, spoiler, start dying. And the guys are like freaking like just stopping every like 10 seconds to find another person dead. And then like, in 2 seconds, they're back at the general store. And I think you kind of miss like a sense of like how big this place is. But then there are some moments like, what's a good example? When they basically accidentally kill the first one. Where they like try to jump that little cement ravine and it smashes through. That was like almost made to feel, and maybe I'm kind of reading into it too much, but that almost felt like it was really far away. And then it's like, what are we going to do now? I don't know. Yeah. And then it's like cut and they're back in general store. And even when he had that map, there was like, what was the town? Perfection?
Yeah.
Which is of course hilarious. But like he's like, oh, this whole valley, and he's like, oh, this, he lays the map out and he's like, this whole valley, they started here, now they're here, and it kind of makes it seem like this could be a 20-30 mile. At one point they said the trip to town is like 38 miles. Mm-hmm. So it's made to seem, 38 miles is you're in the car for 20-30 minutes nowadays. So like in a weird way, they captured that kind of like the scope of like where they were at. And then in other ways it felt a little odd, but, overall, I think they did a really good job at having kind of like a single location, so to say, and making it seem a little bit grander than what it was. So I think they did a good
Yeah.
job with it, honestly.
They went out to the middle of nowhere and they found like 3 really good spots, and they just had everything take place in or right around these 3 spots.
Right. And I don't think, like, even the gun people's house, which one of them was Reba McEntire. I don't know if I remember correctly. I don't think they showed that house and the town in the same shot ever.
Yeah, I don't think they did.
It was always like a low angle of the house, or like around the house, and I think this is kind of like the beauty of kind of like that guerrilla-esque style, where it's like, we don't have a giant budget, so obviously we can't build a giant town, so we have this little clump of buildings here, and then like when the gun people are like looking into the town, then it's like the binocular shot.
Yeah.
And there's your connection, and then you don't question it at all.
Yeah. Or
So-
when they're on the roof and they
Right.
hear the gunshots coming from Bert's place.
Right. And it's always like,
like a
a really
POV.
far shot.
Yeah.
It's not like, it's just that allowing like the viewer to make that connection without laying it down in front of them. It's like, obviously that White House was on a hill somewhere. Well, every time they were looking that way off of the general store. So like, you show a wide shot, the house doesn't even need to be there.
Yeah.
And people are just like, oh yeah, it's on that hill. Like, that's
Yeah.
just what your mind does. So in that way, I think they did a really good job at it, honestly.
It's such a fucking weird geographical area.
Yeah.
Like, it's just like this little fucking peninsula of desert
Right.
that's surrounded by mountains and cliffs. And this town and this little supermarket is shoved in there with like a population of 12.
Just, it's so odd.
And
I mean, I guess that's how all towns
Yeah.
get started.
like, if you're gonna,
but-
I think they did a pretty amazing job at if you're gonna have a movie about giant underground worms in the desert, like, I think they really adjusted the setting to fit that in the best way they could.
Right.
And it all works in such a way, because like, yeah, why wouldn't everybody just get in their cars and drive the fuck off
Right.
like 100 miles away and get the hell out of there? It's like, and you can't have any help come and get you.
Right.
You can't have the police station precincts all over the place to
Right.
come and help you out of your problem. Can't dial 911. Oh, we can't get a signal.
Right.
Well, the mountains are in the way. We're too fucking far from everything. There's just always a reason why they can't. They had to invent all of these fucking reasons, which they weave throughout the dialogue,
Yeah.
like all throughout. We can't do this because of that. We can't go here because of this.
I mean,
And so they shove all of that in there for you
right. I think normally,
to paint a picture for you.
yeah, I think normally in most movies, I would call that a convenience in like a really bad way. But there's something about this movie that makes a little sense, like in location of where they decided to like do the actual movie, like
Yeah.
have the universe take place. So you have all these what would be conveniences now kind of like a literal fact about this place. So obviously there are conveniences in every movie, but like, you know what I mean? Like, I just trying to get like what I actually mean across, I guess, but it's kind of like, it just all makes sense. There's not a convenience to a point where it's like, oh, that's a convenience. The only time that happened is where they found those freaking javelin or whatever you call it, poles,
Pole vaults.
the pole vaults, javelin. By a random rock, and they were like, oh, this is how we're gonna get out. That was the only time I was like, convenience.
Yeah.
Like everything else kind of fit the story. Like even the fact that they left the town like 2 or 3 times, and then the last time they come back through, the road workers get killed, and then there's a rock slide. Well, then out of just sheer like geological location, that road's blocked, so nobody's getting through. Now, granted, that rock slide was wasn't gigantic. I mean, if somebody really wanted to go around it, they probably could. But it's kind of like, it's just that idea that kind of like the situation now, locks them into that kind of zone.
Yeah.
And in a good way. I mean, all the conveniences that would have made another movie kind of like too convenient, it just kind of fit.
Yeah.
Right
everything
in.
to keep them bottlenecked in there.
Right.
Like as they were going along with coming up with this whole concept.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, we got to have a way to make sure they can't go anywhere. And what would they try to do next? And it's like, I think the way the characters react as things unfold and people are found dead, like they take the next step that probably people would take in that situation, like with getting the horses and riding them out to get help.
Yeah.
Everything that locks them into there, though, it's just like the movie gods were just you're not getting the fuck out of this place. You will be chased by these goddamn creatures in this inescapable zone for as long as we have a movie.
Oh, yeah. You want to know one thing I actually enjoyed about this movie? There was kind of senseless banter a handful of times, and I think every movie has that. But for the most part, like when it mattered, there wasn't a whole lot of like nonsense or like drama based emotion. Like it was just like even when they were like fighting over who was going to get that big bulldozer, it was kind of like, no, I'm older and you got longer to live. Yeah, but that means I'm faster. Okay. And then they go back to like rock, paper, scissors because that's what they always do. And then he's like, okay. And then he freaking like elbows him in the guts and jumped off. There's not like, it was just like, it was good. It was nice. It was driving. It was the way a movie should continue.
Yeah.
You know
Everything
what I mean?
was very well paced. Like,
the pacing,
the
was
story
great.
beats were right on point. I think it's an example of a really well paced movie. And the dialogue was in such a way where it just moved things along. It was very matter of factly spoken dialogue. It didn't rabbit trail into a bunch of nonsense where you're just like,
right.
When the fuck are they going to shut the fuck up and move on with the movie?
Right.
It was always like about solving the problem. What's
Yep.
the next step? This didn't work. What do we got to try now?
Yeah, the only time that it felt like it was kind of like this is definitely a little slow was right at the beginning, but you kind of needed that just to show what this town was.
Yeah.
So
I
can't fault it at all.
Yeah. I like that they took the time to set up like what life would be like just being a handyman out there in the middle of
Right.
absolute nowhere.
Right.
120 degrees, building fences in the desert.
Yeah, just doing nonsense work.
Oh my God. But yeah, it was good that you had Kevin Bacon and Fred Ward.
Right.
Because that, even though it was like a slow sort of build, they were two good ones that like because their chemistry was good.
Yeah, they were nice.
Sort of invited you into everything.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And it was cool scenery. Like I think they did a pretty great job at utilizing the best sort of spots in the location they were in to look scenic, the cliffs or the mountains in the background or the it's something cool about it when you watch it from time to time is it really sort of immerses you into that one geographical location for the whole thing. So
yeah,
if you want to see some pretty fucking desert and shit like that, and well, you'll be there the whole time here.
Yeah, no, they did it. I think overall it's gonna sound like oh the hell yeah, that look at that shot, ladies and gentlemen. Overall they did a really, really good job with what they had, honestly. Normally one thing that kind of caught me off guard in a good way is normally in a movie like this, there would really be a handful of characters that were just kind of shoehorned in for things.
Yeah.
And it always just feels stupid or like they got an actor or an actress that just like blatantly didn't understand what was going on or what they were supposed to do. And even kind of like the B side or C side actors in this all just kind of like fit the role like really, really well. And there wasn't that many actors in it, honestly, you know.
Yeah.
10, 12 maybe. Or like 15 max with the people that died here and there.
Like right at the beginning.
But everybody kind of fit the role correctly. So it wasn't nobody like really took you out of anything.
Yeah.
The only thing, the only character that irritated me was just that brat kid that was always like making jokes.
Yeah, I wish he'd have got killed.
Yeah. I
No
thought
one
for
who
sure
would've cared. He was
for
nobody's-
sure.
He was nobody's fucking kid.
Right.
Unless I've been missing it for the past 25 years.
I literally asked that. I was like, whose kid is that?
Yeah, they
Who
don't
knows?
say it. I mean, the one guy in the yellow shirt, fucking Nestor, like the guy with 2 lines in the whole movie that gets eaten off out of the tire.
Right.
Maybe it was like
Stupid
his caretaker or something. Because after he got sucked under it, the camera went right to Melvin. And he's like, "No way, man! No way! Who the hell's gonna like feed me and take care of me now?"
Right. Because the whole movie, he just was slamming at basketball places.
Yeah.
So I just don't.
Maybe there's a little line in there somewhere where like it suggests who the fuck this kid is and who the fuck Nestor is. They're like the only two you have no fucking clue who the hell they are. They're out there by themselves. What's the kid doing out there? And what's this guy doing out there?
They were really the only 2 bodies. You know what I mean?
And
that were just there.
And then you had that guy Miguel that was up on the roof with Kevin Bacon and Fred Ward, who, when I was first watching, I thought he was going to eat it. So,
for sure.
I was like, how the fuck did this dude make it through the movie? There's some fucking guy.
That was kind of nice though, because not everybody died, and some of like the side characters were like brought along on the hero's journey. Because obviously you had like 5 heroes. You got Bacon, Ward, and the chick, and then you got the gun couple. Yeah. You know what I mean? And they end up and kind of become like
everybody
the hero
else
group.
Was pretty expendable.
Yeah.
Bodies that should have been there just get eaten.
Right. But then you did have the mom, the daughter, the Jurassic Park daughter lived, Melvin, and then what did you say his name? Miguel.
Yeah.
And they all lived. So it was kind of nice that they were like just kind of a part of the ride, because if it would have killed everybody off until that 5 and then probably those 3, then it just would have felt very normal movie, track.
Yeah.
So it was nice. It was cool. It was also a fun movie in a way where it was like I wouldn't say any of it was actually scary, but it was like thriller in its own way. It was like thriller light. Like it was like, you know what I mean? There wasn't like everything wasn't hidden in darkness. Yeah. Like the puppet work was on display and it was really good.
Miniatures are in there too.
Yeah, the miniatures in there are nice. Some of the stuff just felt good. Like watching it now, it's 2022. That's 32 years later.
Fuck.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That movie is literally as old as I am right now. I was born in the end of 89. So I
in the 80s.
Yeah, I would have been born shortly before that movie came out. So that movie's 32 years old. And like, to me, watching it now in 2022 with all of the innovations we've had in movies, it's still a really fun movie to me. Everything was just kind of on point.
Yeah.
Was it an 80s, 90s movie? 110%.
Yeah.
But it was
done in the best way.
It was done really, really well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't really think of any effects shots that don't hold up, really. There's only like one in there when they're in the basement, Bert and his wife, and they're shooting at the worm that came through the wall. There's like this third person shot of Bert shooting the worm, and he's like very fucking green screened.
Yeah.
But that's just only
it's a moment.
Yeah, it's only on there for like a half a second.
Right.
I don't know why they didn't just cut that shot out, because it was so jarring.
They needed it.
We need a third person angle, okay? But yeah, here I'll ask, who was your favorite character?
My favorite character?
There's only like 3 actual choices, but
yeah, I don't know. Ward and Bacon were just fun together. In all honesty, they were kind of like a single character because
Yeah.
they didn't leave each other's side.
Yeah.
I think if I had to pick one, and not because he passed, but I'd probably pick Ward just because it's more of like he was just like a sturdy character.
Right.
He's
He's like the guy you'd want next to you.
yeah,
If
just kind of like, if stuff's going down, he was always there like, what are we gonna do? Like, we got to get out of this. I'm not.
we gotta come up with a
Yeah,
plan.
like he's standing there frozen in the sand with Kevin Bacon, and he's like, I'm gonna do it. He's like, I want to live those 3 days before I starve to death. It's like you kind of want that person by your side.
Yeah.
So he was fun.
It is interesting how like everybody would have been just fucked if it wasn't for Bert. Like there wouldn't be a movie. They would, or it would have been half a movie. They all just would have been eaten from once the buildings collapsed. But Bert, he shot one to death. It was his bombs that blew up the other one, and then the third one, well, it was his bomb that fucking Kevin Bacon threw behind it to make it go faster.
Right.
It's like, yeah, okay. Yeah, Kevin Bacon, that was a little bit more of his moment, being that he put his ass on the line, made a risky move by jumping out of the way so it went off the cliff. But if it wasn't for fucking Bert, like, so that was a great character to have in this movie. That gun nut that's hiding way out there just to like be geographically isolated off the grid.
Oh yeah,
he's like a survivalist preparing for nuclear war.
Yep.
It's like what a perfect. It would have been. I don't know if he wasn't in the movie. It would have still worked, but they would have found some other creative ways to.
Well, I think
live, because him and his guns and his bombs, just like having a fucking super soldier there to take care of the problem.
I think if you didn't have him, then the movie would have got very typical very quick. That's my opinion.
Yeah, he brought a really good balance to everything. Like he helped equal the odds between them and what they were facing, and then he was so goddamn extreme that he just made for an interesting character.
Yeah,
him and his wife too, like Reba McEntire.
Yeah, Reba,
the
old country singer.
But yeah, they were fun. So
yeah, overall, really, really good movie. I think. I don't know. I was very surprised. Like I already said, I could probably talk in circles about that because it was just kind of like a pleasant experience overall. Just was good. It was a fun movie. On IMDb, when I was trying to find the budget, one of the top comments was best B-rated movie from 1985 to 1995, which I can't argue with too much. It was just so solid in the correct ways it needed to be.
Yeah. And definitely you can imagine, like, as a little kid watching it, it's like one of the coolest fucking things ever. It's like a creature movie.
Yeah.
With fun characters in it.
Yeah, I love the fact that they didn't hide the creature. Like, I guess in all creature films, you see it at some point.
Yeah.
But kind of like right from the get-go, I mean, once attacks started happening, like they really weren't afraid to get that like puppet out of the sand.
Yeah. That moment where it comes up through the ground when they're by the cement ravine.
Yeah.
That's like the first time you see it in full view.
Yeah.
When it busts out of there.
Broad daylight.
Yeah.
Which was just nice.
Yeah. And you would have thought that this would have gone the route of, like, they could have bypassed so much stuff to do logistically. Like, it's actually amazing that they showed as much as they did. Why wasn't someone like, oh, we could save so much money if you just didn't show the worms.
Right.
Ever hardly until the very, very end.
Right.
Jaws did it. Let's be like Jaws.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But they're like, no, we're going to show the worms.
Yeah. Well, that's why I said they're like, obviously it's a creature movies in the 80s and 90s, so they're riding coattails, but they didn't do it. They did it in their own way, which is the best way to do it if you're riding coattails.
And if you're going to show the creature that much, make sure it looks good. And
Yeah,
it did.
and it did. It was super cool and super unique with that. Like it was like obviously like a worm creature, but it had these like ridiculous like beetle bird beak things and like it was cool.
Be a real sucky way to die.
Yeah,
suffocating under the ground while you're being eaten by a
ugh.
worm. Yeah.
Yeah, when that one guy, what'd you say his name was? Nestor.
Nestor.
He's like, you can hear him under the ground. He was screaming. He gets like pulled underground, and it's just like
his lungs fill with dirt.
Just like really far away. I was like, oh gosh, that's terrifying.
Yeah.
That was like the scariest thing in the whole
yeah.
Just
hearing
hearing
that's a higher ground, Nestor.
While he's sitting with his butt dangling through a giant wheel. This'll do it. Get out of the ground, Nestor.
He panicked. He made a bad decision.
Yeah.
It was his last decision.
Terrible decision. Well, I think we spoke our minds.
Yeah, I mean, there's really not much to say about
To
it, so we might as well
rating
jump
sheet.
to the rating sheet.
Dun, dun, dun. And like always, this is our made-up rating sheet. Sound, music, rewatchability, story, characters. Do you believe it? Creativity. So go ahead and sound and music. I'm gonna go out and just say this is kind of on par for me. There wasn't anything that stood out 100%. The creatures did have their own noises, but it's not like I'm gonna remember them.
Yeah.
So yeah,
just
kind of on par.
Yeah, that's pretty much what it is for me too. There were a few
You want
times,
a 5?
yeah, probably a 5, where I was like, I'm thinking this part would be better without music, but it had some, canned instrumental in there.
Yeah.
For a certain part that I think would have been more suspenseful without any music, or we're just letting silence play out would have added more paranoia where it could have worked better. But so I think they sort of overdid the music a couple of times, but
like especially in some of those goofy spots.
Yeah, a little silly,
A little
but
odd.
Not too. Doesn't detract from it too much overall. And the sound, whatever, it was competent. So
yeah. So moving to rewatchability, what do you think?
Oh God, I gotta give it a fucking. I'll give it a 9.
Ooh.
Because
Oops, that's me.
I've known it for the longest fucking time. I've always come back to it at some point. 2 years might go by, and then I'll watch it again eventually. But I always do watch it again because not only is it buried in nostalgia, but it's just a good, fun movie. Like,
right.
It's got a lot of reasons to revisit it. Good characters, fun setting.
Right.
Turn your brain off. You don't have to pay attention. We're not talking about corporate espionage here. It's just giant worms attacking people, trying to live. And it's all done just really well.
Right. Yeah. I give it a 8.5, basically for all those same reasons. The only reason I think I don't give it a 9 is because there's just, I don't know, this might be like a cop-out answer, but there's just like so many other movies. I don't know that I'm going to like continue to go back just to this one.
Yeah.
But like you said, if it comes around, then it's kind of like a why not? It's a fun movie to watch.
Yeah. If Ezekiel comes here and is like, I want to watch Tremors.
We'll watch
3
Tremors.
years.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So rewatchability.
We just did that.
Story, I mean, sorry. I was literally staring at rewatchability and then just said it. So the story, what do you think about the story overall as a piece?
I'll give it an 8.
Yeah.
Yeah, because as simple of a premise as it is, it's just done well.
Yeah.
As well as it really can be. I think they thought through a lot of things. And for a setting that, like, in describing it probably sounds boring as fuck, they made a lot happen in a very confined sort of space, so to speak, even though it's wide open as fuck. It's like, there's not much going on out there, but they found a way to pace things from setting to setting, from place to place, situation to situation. There was always something new developing or happening. It didn't stall too much in any one place.
This is like a movie you watch if you want to understand good pacing in a movie. Like, this is a movie you can watch and just understand how they're moving from one situation to the next, and the mini stories in the larger story, whether it be, okay, we're starting a chase scene with the worm, and where does that end? And just like everything just moves itself along so naturally. So that's why I also gave it an 8 for those reasons. Maybe there were some things that could have got it a 9, but super solid.
I'm sure there's somebody out there that would have had an idea that would have improved the movie even more. But as it stands, like, I can't think of what to change about it. So and for like I said, it's a movie about fucking worms eating people. So it's not, the story isn't like, fucking Goodfellas or something. It's
right.
But it's just competently well done for what it is, and they stretched a very stupid sounding idea very, very far.
Very far, So how about characters for you?
Oh, I do like the characters a lot.
Characters are super solid.
Yeah.
I don't know, other than freaking Nestor and the boy, there are
8.5.
Aren't many throwaway characters, honestly.
Yeah, Nestor and the boy, I think they should have killed the boy, probably in the worst way of anybody.
I'm gonna give it an 8, but yeah.
That little shithead. You have like 5 people that have been killed, and he's still fucking cracking jokes and throwing basketballs at people through windows, and screaming and pretending he's being attacked.
That's the I guess here's my gripe with that kid the most. I think alone was the throwaway character, and he never died, which was so odd, but also a reason I kind of like it, because it literally does the opposite of what it should.
You think his ass would get it first?
Yeah, well, just like you said, it's like he's there literally just ragging on everybody, just beaming people with a basketball, crying wolf, trying to be scary, and then he actually does get attacked and screams like a baby, and then it's just kind of like, he should have died.
I wish it would have been him towards the end of the movie when Bert was hanging off the front of the bulldozer. Maybe it should have been him
in the front,
just being stupid, like, Melvin, stop doing that. Oh, the dumb kid, there he is being dumb again. And then they fall into the ditch that the worms made.
The bulldozer smacks it.
And he face plants into the dirt and it pulls him under. And then we're set up for like, oh shit, this just went from we're getting out of here in about 10 minutes to the kid just died, and now we're stuck. It would have really set the tone for the final act in a better way. Lucky for Bert, he got right up off the ground and jumped in the bucket thing where he was safe.
He was carrying his elephant gun.
His ass was lucky he didn't get taken down for falling off the front of that thing like that. Like, because that was a trap that they set. Like, why weren't the worms ready to take the dumbass that would have fallen off when it crashed like that? So he was lucky for him. He was cool enough that the script will let him live.
Oh yeah.
But,
well, do you believe it? Do you believe the universe this movie created?
That's an interesting one, because there's just a couple of things that I thought were really stupid. The girl bouncing around on her pogo stick after 4 or 5 people have been killed.
Well, no offense, but that is literally what a kid would do.
That is
probably the most believable thing to me.
Where the fuck was her mother?
Can you imagine Ezekiel, like, someone gets murdered, he's going to literally be outside trying to...
But with people dying, I didn't know what was going on. He should have been tied to the chair.
Well, that's the mom's fault. That's
she's
not
a
the
bad
child's
mom.
fault.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's like, because Melvin, I could see his dumbass out there on the pogo stick and no one cares. But the little girl, like, it's a little like 10-year-old.
Right.
Like, where the mother wasn't there. What the hell is she doing? There's nothing to do out there. There's nothing to do out there.
Well, that's why she's on the pogo stick.
Well, what's the mother doing? Just reading a book with her back turned to
Well, she
everything?
was in there talking to everybody. You remember.
Well, I just think
With her back literally turned to her child, yes.
pretty silly.
The weird part about that scene is she goes out and looks for her and can't find her.
Yeah.
And then when we see her, she's just on the road, literally where her mom walked out.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely an odd.
Do you think it would have been a bad turn for this movie if it was darker than it was in that, like, the little girl might have died, or the mom and the little girl might have died? Or is it
would have obviously been
better to be
movie.
lighthearted? Like, it's sort of lighthearted and funny. Like,
I wouldn't say it was necessarily like funny. It had its moments, but I actually really enjoyed the lightness of this.
Yeah.
Also in being like a oh no monster movie. Just because literally 99% of the movies that are like this are everything comes at night where you can't see anything. It's terrifying because it's dark. People that you suspect and unsuspect, everybody dies. So it's like in that light where every other movie is like that. Yeah, I like it like this, because if it would have turned into that, then it would have been every other movie, every other monster movie.
Yeah. That's an interesting
so
point.
In that
like,
case,
the monster
yes.
is in the daylight.
Right. Well, that's what I mean. There's not a ton other where it's just everything's blatantly in the day.
Yeah.
The only nighttime shots we got were the doctor and his wife, I think, at the house that they were building.
Yeah, that was it.
When the generator went out, and it worked. It did what it's needed to, but yeah, I just really enjoyed that it was in the daylight. Like, it's awesome to use darkness to your advantage for like scares and stuff like that if that's what you're going for, but that's not really what this movie was.
Yeah.
To begin with. So to turn that corner where, you know, maybe the little girl dies or the mom dies, you know, that would have been whatever almost. But
they didn't have much of a role in it.
No.
But at the same time, like, I think it would have added a bleakness to it that,
well, yeah, definitely.
Because you're given so much with the banter and everything. Like, there's just a sort of a fluffiness to the whole thing that, I don't know, would have been pretty dampened by.
You don't like nice and fun movies.
No, there's exceptions.
No, I agree. I mean, like I said, it would have been a different movie at that point if it went the bleak route. But obviously, that wasn't what it was. Even from the very beginning, it wasn't that.
I think they used the gore in a right way too. It was like, it had its moments where it was something on the screen that was pretty like, ugh. What's this rated?
Yeah. Well, honestly, I think that this movie did it much more in a natural way than what.
Yeah, it wasn't.
This is more
gratuitous and in your face.
This was more realistic than every other movie.
I liked it that they like pulled the hat up and it was just like this head looking out of the ground, and you could see like
probably a severed head.
Yeah, around it, but just like the ring of where the sever is.
But it was also just the guy buried in the sand.
Yeah. Or the construction helmet with the brains hanging out of it. I like that it wasn't any more gratuitous than that.
Yeah, it definitely didn't need it.
You didn't have like a CGI shot of worms like pulling a guy apart.
Right.
And CGI blood going everywhere and 18 different camera angles on it.
Right.
It was just a shot of a helmet with brains like hanging out of it, and it looked very real.
Right.
And it was just like, oh fuck, that's bad. Let's get back to town.
Well, yeah, because they didn't. I guess that was the thing I liked about this movie was they didn't need the shock factor, or they didn't use it at all, I guess is more like it. Like they didn't see it as necessary. So they didn't need all that gimmicky stuff where there's flashing lights in the background or thunder in the sky, just because it's just like, yeah, okay, cool. Like, we know this is a bad situation and it's getting worse and someone's going to die soon.
Yeah.
It was just kind of like, hey, we're in broad daylight. There's a rock slide. Where'd those workers go? Oh, there's a brain helmet there on the ground. Come on, Kevin Bacon, let's get out of here.
Yeah.
You know, it was just nice in that way.
Yeah.
So
it's funny watching them on 4 different occasions stumble across dead people.
they were not happy at the end of it.
Nope.
Who could be doing this? There's a murderer in our town. He's cutting people's heads off. So that was a long roundabout do you believe it talk. But what do you think your rating is on that?
Oh yeah. Well, aside from the pogo stick thing,
Yeah, as an overall.
I will give it a 7.5.
Ooh, 7.5. I'm going with an 8 again.
It is a little weird that there was no other road out of there except for this little dirt path through a canyon that's now blocked by boulders.
Right.
But it's a movie. It's a movie about fucking worms eating people. Like,
Yeah.
I can get over it.
Yeah, and it's a new town, so what are you going to do?
Yeah.
Creativity, what do you think?
Pretty high up there for me.
Really?
I'll give it a 8.5.
Oh.
I just think they found a way to to make interesting things happen and pace it along at a good pace.
Right.
And the creatures I just thought were really well made and designed. And just the whole way in which everything works. And I like the mystery of it too, of not knowing where they came from. And I like that they talk about that too. Here these giant worms show up and are killing people, and we should have known about these things by now. And I love that they didn't try to explain it. Like, everybody's just confused. Yeah, we should have known about them, but we didn't. So where'd they come from? Well, we don't know. Right. And you just never find out. They don't stumble across like some eggs somewhere, right, or an alien spaceship, or some like scientist running a fucking experiment out in the desert, some radioactive leak. You know,
right.
It's nothing. No, it's just so unnecessary.
It's
I love it so much more that we just don't know.
Yep.
Even if it doesn't make sense, who cares? No one's thinking about that. It's cool, right, that they don't know where they came from, and it's cool that the characters are like all fucking confused about it, and they touch on it, and they're like, well, we don't know. All right, well, right, it doesn't matter. We just need to, and that's what he says. Like, it doesn't matter. We just need to get the fuck out of here.
Yeah. Yeah, because exactly what you said. That's what a lot of movies do that drives me absolutely nuts, because there's so much information sometimes in movies that is 100% not necessary. And oh gosh, excuse me. That's exactly what's a handful of movies have done, especially monster or creature movies, where it's like, oh, here's this thing. Well, we're going to now take 15 minutes to tell you the whole backstory about why this giant creature is dangerous. Yeah. No, it's a giant creature. It's just like evolutionarily, we know it's dangerous, especially if we've never seen it before, and especially if it looks ugly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, there's nobody on this earth that's like, ooh, giant worm popping out of the ground, probably going to be a pet one day. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? It's natural to understand that it's scary. So yeah, I completely agree. Yeah, it was cool the way they did that for sure.
Yeah. Because this would go from a 90-minute movie to like 115 minutes unnecessarily if they shoehorned in this whole thing, backstory about where they came from or who invented them in a lab and is secretly working with the college student pretending to be a college student
Right.
who's really working with the Russian government to
Right.
engineer giant radioactive worms to take
Right.
over the world and militarize worms. All this
And
nonsense.
worms.
No, it's just
No,
simple
it's just
story.
really good. Yeah.
Worms attacking a town. We don't know where they came from. Oh my God, we're going to die. We have to get out of here. We have to outsmart them.
Right.
And as the movie progresses, they learn more and more about the worms, and the worms learn more and more about them.
Right.
Based on the tacticalness of how they're trying to get each other.
Yeah.
And yeah, so it was all really well done.
Yeah, absolutely.
Didn't linger anywhere too long. It didn't
Yeah.
didn't stall. It just
Yeah, so I gave it an 8. A little bit less than yours. I think the only reason why I gave it an 8, I think, was just because it is a very simple idea. So it's not like, obviously it was super creative in the way they like attacked the idea and made it happen.
Mhm.
But the idea itself is probably a little bit simpler than what I would give like a 9 or obviously a 10. But overall, we obviously liked the movie. I'm at a 7.5. You're a 7.7 with 7.6 as our total score out of 10, which is pretty high for us.
yes, very respectable score.
Yeah. If the sound and music were anywhere in the ballpark for like some iconic movie, like the way they have done music, where it's just like you hear a sound, you know what it is.
Yeah.
If they would have done even, half of what those movies did, our scores probably would have pushed this over an 8.
Yeah. I think the sounds
easily,
of the worms was pretty decent.
they were okay. I would just say, like, in my head now, if I think about what the sounds are, I can't really place them at all. It's not. That's why I said it's not that they were bad. It's just
I think they should
I
have
can't
had a
place
more
it.
distinct sound that's
100%.
memorable and like almost something that kids would like reference on the playground, like, oh, the graboid is coming.
Yeah.
It sounds like this.
Yeah.
Like they could have made like a real unique sort of attribute to them,
absolutely.
but instead it was just sort of
It was just a noise.
some sound effect in a folder somewhere.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then the music was like, but yeah, I remember there was something being about that, and like the behind the scenes or making of with the music, like they weren't sure what to do with it. Like they
So
had
just started
one
throwing things
composer and that made some tracks, and that was steering it much more in the direction of like a lighthearted sort of not comedy, but just lightheartedness.
direction.
When they were going across the boulders and the music was like, and then I think they like got rid of him and got a different guy to make it like darker and bleaker. And then they ended up using like tracks from both of them.
That one track at the beginning was so odd.
Yeah.
Because then shortly after that, it was like, then you had some very like composed music, and it was just odd choice. But it's not like it ruined anything. It was just odd.
Not really.
Just odd is all.
Yeah. Nitpick, really. I mean,
yeah.
Oh, I think of all the categories we have, the sound and music, I mean, it's not like that is earth-shatteringly bad to the quality of the movie. It's all the other categories are more important.
No, absolutely not. And I would say that's why I said sound and music is kind of like par for the course. It is not bad in any way. Interesting choices, but I wouldn't say it's bad.
Mm-mm.
It's just definitely a direction, like you said, so
it doesn't really ruin anything
Right.
for me. Nothing's ruined. It's just, I think they could have done something more with that.
Right. And what movie couldn't have? Honestly.
But fuck, if I tried it, I might make it worse. So
no.
Good how it turned out.
Well, I think that's that.
After seeing this, Are you interested in the second one at
Kind
some
of.
point?
Kind of. We can do a Hellraiser punishment.
Oh, shit.
Trying to watch a Tremors 2 to see how
because
fun that is.
I've always had a place for the second one more than the first one, and I'm probably like I'm the only person I know that thinks that.
Well, we will probably.
I think the first thing people think of with the second one is like, no Kevin Bacon, no good.
Yeah,
and it is a smaller movie. The budget is significantly smaller, but it's another example of like they took that small budget and they did everything they could with it.
Right.
And I think they made a really solid movie. And I think it's better being a smaller movie.
Yeah.
If they tried to expand things, they would have ruined things.
Right.
I think it's better to, instead of bringing it out and expanding it, let's narrow it in even more.
Right. Yeah. If it's even if it's half better than Hellraiser, then
no worries there.
I'll probably enjoy it.
You'll enjoy it way more than Hellraiser.
But yeah, we can give number 2 a shot. See how it
wind up
goes.
watching the entire series.
If number 2, I think this is how we should do series. If number 2 is good, then we give number 3 a chance. But once it falls off, it falls off hard.
Yeah. It ain't gonna come back after.
And
3.
then unless there's critically acclaimed, movie 7, then we don't do it.
Yeah, but until that time.
Yeah. But
that's a good way to go about it.
I think that's that. I think it's over. There's the score. 7.6 out of 10 Tremors for the Alchemy Point review.
A 7.6, leaning itself so hard to an 8.
Oh, it really is. I mean, if we did the roundup.
Yeah, if you've never seen it, Jesus. I mean,
take a chance.
Yeah,
it's a good
It's
watch.
90 minutes. You
And
don't
really,
have to think at all.
And honestly, it's not even like, what is the rating? A PG-13 probably. It's not even that bad.
No.
There's cursing. I would say there is some gore. I would call that some fantasy gore. So it's not blood.
It was a rated R movie.
Oh, really?
In post, they made it a PG-13. Some of the fucks were dubbed.
That's right. You said that. Yep.
And they probably cut out some gorier parts, but
give it a chance. It's fun. But
and at the end, Kevin Bacon did not kiss the girl, and test audiences wanted him to. So,
is that the story?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I read that.
So that's why he ran after her and gave her a smooch.
I think it was some other way it ended originally. Like,
yeah,
I don't know how it wrapped up with them standing by the truck and her coming over. It was some other way.
Right.
I'd have to read it again, but they didn't kiss, and the audience was like, so they fixed that.
Right.
Well, and I think it was, they didn't bog it down with the love interest stuff either. It was very subtle.
Was awesome.
Yeah. Subtle little glances and looks.
That's probably one of my favorite parts about the whole movie, because the Ward character made it super obvious that he was like, hey, should stop trying to mess with those stupid blonde chicks you always like. Like, that was the whole beginning of the movie. And then, like, the whole movie is just over there like,
yeah.
And it wasn't like this 20-minute, like, we have to have a man-to-man talk.
Yeah.
It wasn't any of that. It wasn't this, like, weird, super-duper love thing. And then right at the end, it was just kind of like, of course that's what's going to happen. Everything felt natural.
Yeah.
But whatever.
Yep. It was well flowed and on pace, just like the rest of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well,
that's it for Tremors.
I believe that's that.
Rest in peace, Fred Ward. You done good. You left us something good. You old devil, you.
God. Well, comment, subscribe, give us some suggestions, do all that nonsense.
All that in under an hour. We're getting better at this.
Yeah. See ya, people.
What's this?